All right. Good morning. I'm calling the Governance Committee of the Board of Retirement and the Board of Investments to order today being Friday, April 22nd, 2022. It is 9 a.m. Madam Secretary, would you make your typical announcements?
Yes, thank you, Chair Santos. This meeting is being conducted as a virtual meeting, so I will do a roll call of the trustees to confirm attendance. Mr. Santos?
Present.
Mr. Green?
Here.
Ms. Greenwood? Ms. Sanchez?
Here.
Mr. Pryor? Mr. Sanchez? Okay, I'm going to call on the Board of Retirement members. Ms. Gray?
Here, good morning.
Good morning, thank you. Mr. Robbins? Mr. Moore?
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Zapanta? Mr. Knox?
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning. Mr. Bernstein?
Good morning.
Good morning. And Board of Investment Trustees, Mr. Kelly?
I'm present.
Thank you. Mr. Jones? I have Mr. Knox and Mr. Kehoe is absent. Staff participating in the meeting include the following: CEO Santos Cramen, CIO John Grable, Chief Counsel Stephen Rice, Deputy CEO Louis Lugo, AEOs JJ Popovich and Laura Guglielmo. We also have division managers and the budget team available to call on for any questions. Trustees, please use the Zoom chat option to be placed in the queue. At this time, we ask all meeting participants to mute their mics until you're ready to speak, and we may proceed with the agenda. I'm so sorry, I forgot Ms. Jones.
I'm present.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. I marked you here because I know you emailed me, but I didn't call on you. Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Jones, and welcome to our board. As a beneficiary and a longtime member of the system, I thank you for your service. Really appreciate it. And when this meeting is over, I will work with Linda to schedule a telephone conference with you and I for the benefit of LACERA. Anyway, so since we don't have the quorum, I'm going to jump right into item 3, public comment. Any public comment?
We don't have any requests from the public to address the board.
Thank you, ma'am. Well, I guess let's start the discussion with the not consent. I mean, what do you think, Mr. Rice? Or should we just go to reports? Should we begin the discussion of the non-consent items pending the arrival of the other colleagues? Or what is your guidance here?
It's a judgment call. We could start with the.
I see Mr. Sanchez, by the way. So Mr. Sanchez is present, but we're still missing one. Excuse me, Mr.
Yes.
Rice, I
Yes.
cut you off.
We're still missing one. So we could start with the non-consent items, or we could jump down to the reports. It's really in the discretion of the chair.
Okay, so I just thank you, sir. Thank you for the guidance. And moving forward to item 5, non-consent items, subsection 8 is Mr. Cramen calendar. Well, I don't want to do that because other colleagues are not here. So maybe I should go to 5, subsection B, and that's the trustee education. And hopefully, since a lot of the other colleagues are here from the board, we can begin some discussion and see where we go from there. So that's what I'm doing, calling the item B, revised trustee educational trial policy. Mr. Rice.
Yes, at the March meeting, the committee did really a page-by-page review of both policies, the travel policy and the education policy, and provided a lot of input and direction, which we have incorporated into the red lines that you have in your your meeting packet for this meeting. There were some more minor language changes that were requested by the committee last time. I don't know that it's necessary to go through those. They're in the red line. There were, however, some more substantive changes, and I thought what I would do with your permission, Chair Santos and committee members and board members, is to go through the more major changes to both policies and focus attention on those items that may be more fundamental changes or structural changes, or are just are more important to make sure that they align with what the committee would like to recommend to the boards.
Yeah, that would be fine. And in addition to that, I do have some suggestions, questions. So
We
you got the floor,
have a
Mr.
quorum,
Rice.
just so you're aware. We do have a quorum now.
Okay, good. So we do have a quorum. So I'm going to go ahead and start then with my comments. In page, let me see, the purpose of the second paragraph on the line, it makes reference to including speaking engagements, including domestic educational conferences. I think it would be important to also include international conferences, because we do have members of the Asian corporate governance. We are also members of the international corporate governance. We play key roles in different private equity organizations. That will be one suggestion for my colleagues to consider. In the end, the other item that I have is under let's see, that will be under ongoing trustee education, section C, or subsection C2. Okay, so on section 2, we don't consider Mexico and Canada as international locations. So I thought that on the following paragraph under that particular subsection, that it might be a little redundant, but that's just my view, is that it says external education must have at least 5 hours of educational content per day. International education is all education that. So I thought that we should put an exclusion in there, and I know it's mentioned elsewhere. I thought it would be consistent to put an exception that Canada and Mexico, as provided on the previous paragraph in section 4C2 above. That's also for consideration by my colleagues. And then the other suggestion I have is it goes to the approval of external conferences. Let's see, I would like to suggest for my colleagues' consideration that we include also Col Capital, the COLCA, capital CAPAPITAL. That's the Colombia's Private Equity Association. Conferences and seminars is really important. We have a very robust private equity program and being invested on a global basis. In fact, I am making a presentation at the Col Capital Private Equity Conference next week regarding a private equity program, co-investing and secondaries. So I think it would be a good idea to include the conference there as well. And okay, so that's pretty much okay. With regards to the travel policy itself, the purpose, the last paragraph, again, keeping it consistent with what I mentioned earlier, it should include domestic and or international conferences. They are in the paragraph. Then another suggestion I have is with regards to trustee travel policy. Item trustee travel, item 3, subsection B, I'm sorry, C. It should, with regards to reimbursements, I think it should state in there that it should be the reimbursement should be promptly, and it sometimes it takes weeks for us to get reimbursed. I know there was a prior discussion at the last meeting regarding advances. Here, this deals with getting reimbursed at once. All the documentation submitted in review, then it should be paid out promptly. Then on the next page, I thought that we should include in the approval, again, promptly, the reimbursements should be paid out. And that's the suggestion that I have. Oh, there's one more suggestion. I'm sorry, I apologize. This with reimbursement and scheduling, transportation, subsection A1, A1A. I believe that Mr. Bernstein, and I know he's in the meeting today. My interpretation was that the suggestion was that to keep the language we have there 5 hours or more, and I thought that we should include and or 10 hours because I think that's what Mr. Bernstein was suggesting. The way I understand it, if it, for some reason, the outgoing flight, for example, is 4 hours and 50 minutes, for example, but the return flight is 6 hours, and as long as it's 10-hour total trip, so it should be we should not be eliminating that, but it should be and or 10 hours. And Mr. Bernstein can address that if he disagrees with me as far as my interpretation of his suggestion. That's my suggestions.
Chair Sanchez, just with respect to the last item, the 10 hours, that wording there was the wording that was approved by the committee at the December meeting to eliminate the 5 hours and have it be a total trip time of 10 hours, because the concern was one way it's shorter, one way it's longer. The total is 10 hours, in other words, 5 hours per leg. So that was the direction that was provided in December. It still can be tweaked now, but this was the specific direction given in December.
Thank you for that correction. Yes, I would like to ask my colleagues to evaluate my suggestion.
Mr. Chair, can I just, since you...
Absolutely.
Yeah. The only thing I would add, and everything you said was correct, is when you have a situation where you're forced to book coach one way and business the other way, you actually often wind up with a more expensive ticket than if you were doing business back and forth. So there's both a logic and a potential financial savings in the adjustment to making it either 5 hours each way or 10 hours total. That's all I would add. Everything else you said was correct.
Oh, okay, good. All right. Thank you very much for that. So just to be clear and for everybody's benefit, so you in favor of my suggestion to keep the 5 hour and add the and or 10 hours for the total trip?
I'll defer to the committee. I'm in favor of that. I'm also candidly in favor of giving the board chair some discretion to approve minor changes for economic efficiencies. However you all think it's best to get this resolved, I'm supportive.
Okay, so I will make a motion to include the changes that I mentioned.
I would second that.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor, duly second. Any discussion regarding those items that I just mentioned?
Okay.
there's a question here. Let me see, I have her connection. Okay, that's Ms. Greenwood, not reference to
She's
the
back.
motion. Okay,
Mr. Santos,
yes,
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood.
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mr. Sanchez.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Santos, would you like to go back to the minutes?
yes. Thank you for that reminder. Let me get to the section there real quick here. Okay, good.
I would move
Moving back-
approval, Mr. Chair. I'll move approval of the minutes.
It's been moved. I will second it. Any correction, changes, discussions?
Okay.
Hearing none, let's vote.
Mr. Santos,
Yes,
Mr. Green,
Aye.
Ms. Greenwood,
Aye.
thank you. Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mr. Sanchez.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously.
great, thank you. Moving forward to the consent items, item 4, subsection A. I will entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
It's
I'll
been
second
moved.
that, Mr. Chair.
It's been
David.
moved and second. Seeing no request to speak, roll call, please.
Mr. Santos,
Yes,
Mr. Green,
Aye.
Ms. Greenwood,
she said she had a horrible connection, so.
Aye.
thank you. And Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mr. Sanchez.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving forward to non-consent item, subsection A. That's Mr. Kramer regarding the schedule for the committee. I am available August 24th or August 25th. And also for the November, I'm available on all days except November 17th. Any discussions? Motions?
Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, may I speak?
Absolutely, madam.
I believe in November, the SACRS conference, it would conflict on November 10th. I believe that's the date.
Okay. So I will make a motion then that we approve for August 24th, for November 16th, and for December 8th. That's my motion.
Second. That's a motion.
Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Mr. Santos,
Yes,
what is
ma'am.
the time? What is the time of the meeting?
Is 9 a.m.
Is there any possibility of moving that to 8 a.m.?
I have no objection. Anybody else have an objection moving the meetings to 8 a.m.? Hearing none, that will be included in my motion. Mr. Green, would you accept that?
It was Ms.
Yep.
Greenwood.
Oh, Ms.
Oh.
Greenwood.
But I accept it too, just for the record. Absolutely.
Okay. Mr. Santos,
Yes,
Mr. Green,
Aye.
Ms. Greenwood,
Yes.
Ms. Sanchez,
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes. and yes, and Mr. Sanchez.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Popovich, do you have a question? I kind of see a hand up there. No, okay, good. Thank you for that. Moving forward.
I was adjusting my light. I apologize.
Okay, no worries. All right, so that was that. I believe now we down to subsection C with regards to the
Chair Santos,
yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Could I ask just a point of clarification on the travel item? I just want to make sure the record is clear. I believe the motion that you made and was seconded and was voted on was staff's red lines plus the changes you requested.
That's correct, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, subsection C, Ms. Guglielmo. Hopefully I pronounced your name properly. Apologies if I didn't. The floor is
Close enough,
yours.
Chairman Santos. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Happy Earth Day. In November, this committee directed staff to consider developing a written budget adjustment policy. Being new to LACERA at the time and having responsibility over the budget process, I very much appreciated the opportunity to review, assess, and make recommendations on how to move forward. Included in your packet was a draft policy, as well as the existing policy from May of 2009. And a staff memo that summarized and highlighted the proposed changes. I'm happy to walk through those changes now and give you an opportunity to ask questions and discuss, or to stand for questions, whatever your pleasure, Mr. Chair.
I have no questions, but I'm going to wait to see if one of my colleagues have a question. I see a note here. Let's see what it is. Okay, never mind. That's forgotten. It's connectivity. All right, so can you give us a quick rundown since there's no questions?
Absolutely, and as we go along, there will be additional opportunities as well. So in developing the proposed policy, I researched what other publicly available budget policies were available for pension systems, looking specifically at CalPERS and Minnesota PARA. And I also relied on my personal background and experience in municipal budgeting, although LACERA is quite different in some ways. The proposed updates include expanding the scope to include the retiree healthcare program budget and other post-employment benefits or OPEB trust funds, as well as the administrative budget. The current policy only addresses the administrative budget. Updating the legal authority section to reflect the current statutory sections because the current policy statute references are out of date and no longer apply. Adding definitions of terms, as this is a best practice and not included in the current policy. Updating the budget development process to add more detail and include the role that the audit committee will be reviewing the internal audit division's budget. That's a new change to LACERA's process. Creating a protocol for the mid-year budget review and updating protocols for budgetary control reviews. And there are 3 additional more significant updates that this committee might have more interest in, or the trustees may have more interest in. Those include updating the language regarding the board's authority to appropriate funding, including proposing protocols for increasing appropriations within the statutory limits and renaming the contingency fund to unallocated statutory appropriation balance.
I saw that, if I may. I see that it's 1 million, right? The proposal is for 1 million, and that's the authority for the CEO. That's what you referenced, one of the references that you make in here, right? Is that true?
That's the next one I was going to talk about, which is granting the CEO authority to transfer appropriations within the board's statutory authority. So under Searle,
let me just stop you there. Let me stop you there. So suggestion here, because this is straightforward, and thank you for all the work you did, as far as I'm concerned, is that at the time the CEO and the staff decides that there's a need to do that, and the decision is to make that transfer, I will suggest that the board chair be notified. There's a notice here, nothing else. So that way, because the following board meeting, the way I understood this proposal here is that the boards will be advised of what was done, and I think when that comes to the board is that at least the chair was notified. Just simple notice.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Are we talking, just in terms of timing, are you talking about notified prior to the transfer being made or after the transfer's been made?
No, so the staff concludes and you conclude. I don't want to tie your hands.
Okay,
All I'm saying is that the staff decided we're making the 1 million allocation here. We're giving you notice and be also aware that the board will be notified at the next board meeting. It's simple notice.
okay.
I have a question.
Okay, that's not a problem.
There's a question by Mr. Wayne Moore, I believe.
Yeah, just clarification. So you're talking about over the course of a year, the CEO can move appropriations from the unappropriated account up to a cumulative total of $1 million, and that would be to various accounts.
No, I think I appreciate the question, Trustee Moore, because I'd like to clarify. Only the boards can increase the total appropriation taking funds. So the budget is appropriated, and then there is a surplus appropriation that we previously have called a contingency fund, but it's technically not appropriated. So the boards would need to appropriate that. What we're saying is there should be sufficient flexibility within the budget approved and appropriated by the boards for the CEO to transfer funds. So right now, the current policy does not allow that transfer across major funds. In other words, it does not allow a transfer from the salary employee benefits into services and supplies or vice versa. Only within an account within salaries and employee benefits or within the counts in services and supplies. And we are recommending that the CEO have the authority up to $1 million to transfer across those major accounts within the total appropriation, not changing that.
Oh,
But if there is a need to increase the total appropriation, then that would be something that the boards would still consider, and as well as any increase in staffing or anything that would sort of have a long-term impact to the total appropriation would come to the boards.
okay. I thought you said earlier that the former contingency would be appropriated.
No, just to clarify, we had previously called that a contingency fund, and those funds were technically never appropriated, and they shouldn't be. They are just your authority. So you have the ability as a board to increase appropriations at any time during the year up to that amount.
But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about the fact that that the CEO will have the ability to move money between, I call it, different buckets that have
Yes.
already been approved by the board. If the budget have been adopted, something develops, that the CEO needs to move additional funds from one account to another account. I think that's an important flexibility that the CEO should have. And that should be his duty in running the operations of the organization. So I'm in favor of that.
Yeah, but you described it. You described it perfectly. So we just want the flexibility to move the money across major accounts as well as the minor accounts or the line items within services and supplies, for example. And so it allows us to deal with some of the surplus issues that were the lack of funding, or not lack of funding, but the savings that we've been accruing over time. And Mr. Bernstein had raised that as consistently over the last 2 years that I've been here, or 3 years. It's my third budget now. So we're trying to address that. We don't want to appropriate any more than we actually need.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. We are getting ready to lose quorum. So at this point, if there is no questions, I would make a motion to approve this, and this has to be sent to the board, that we approve it and request that the staff submit this to the appropriate board for approval. Is that correct?
Second that, Mr. Santos.
Second.
Chair
it's been
Santos.
moved in second. Any other opportunity? This is another opportunity to ask questions, raise
Can I
concerns.
just, very, very quickly, I just wanted to point out one very important policy issue that you need to consider.
Yes, sir.
We want to make sure that, and in the policy, we put in the provision that we want to accelerate our contribution to OPEB, the OPEB trust fund, so that we can pay off that unfunded liability sooner rather than later. And so
That's not controversial. And sorry, Mr. Kryman, in my view, that's not controversial. It's very important. It's that our employees, and we need to pre-fund that. So I don't see that controversial at all. But thank you for raising that issue. Roll call.
Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Aye.
Ms. Greenwood,
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mr. Sanchez.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that. That conclude all the action items reports. Any questions regarding any other reports? For that report? Hearing none. Items for staff review?
I don't
Linda?
have any items for staff review.
Go
Okay.
to the order.
I'm sorry,
Sure.
can I just clarify the final item? Do we need a vote to move that forward?
Which one? The report?
The budgets.
Oh, no. Well, the motion states that this committee is recommended that the board approve it. So it's being moving forward.
Okay.
Mr. Santos, just to clarify, there's the budget policy, which you talked about explicitly, and what Mr. Santos, or what Mr. Kryman is mentioning is, just to be clear, is the preliminary budget that the JOGC typically forwards to the boards for their consideration. And we must want to make sure, we didn't discuss that at all. We want to make sure that you're comfortable with that.
Yes.
I reviewed that, and I'm sure my colleagues did the same. There was no question raised.
Okay.
Besides, the matter is going to the board for approval. So if there's anything comes up, that's the other opportunity for any of my colleagues to object or make any comments they see appropriate.
Well, one
So-
point of order, Chair Santos.
Yes, sir.
Without action on that item, the committee is not making a recommendation to the boards with respect to the budget. So if the committee wishes to make a recommendation to forward this budget to the boards with the committee's endorsement, there would need to be a motion.
I thought that's part of the motion that I made.
I think the confusion is that there's two items. There's the budget policy that I believe you moved. And
Right.
then we have the actual preliminary budgets that would require a second motion to move it forward to the appropriate boards for consideration.
That's
I
correct.
will
There's
make
been
that-
no action on the budget
I
itself.
will make that motion to
Correct.
move that item to the board.
Second.
It's been moved on second. Any question, objection? Hearing none. Roll call.
Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Aye.
Ms. Greenwood,
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez. Ms. Sanchez, I think we lost her, and Mr. Sanchez.
Yes.
Ms. Sanchez, let me see. Yeah, we lost her.
So not possible to take action.
Nope.
Okay. So that matter is stable then. So
As a point of order, Mr. Rice, are we able to forward this to the committees without a recommendation for lack of quorum, or does this need to go? Does it have to be approved by the JOGC before we can move forward?
In consultation with the chairs, I understand that Mr. Pryor can join the meeting, which would establish a quorum.
Yes,
but
he just freed up from a fire call, so he can join now. I will have him join now so that he can vote.
Okay.
right.
that would eliminate the question, but the budget could still proceed. It just wouldn't have the committee's recommendation, which is part of the process that's been established.
Thank you, Mr. Rice.
Lisa, would you let us know what Mr. Pryor's on the line, please?
Absolutely.
I think in the future, to avoid this confusion, is that it should be two separate action items on the agenda, so it will be clear that we'll take action on those two items. That will be my humble suggestion and request.
We will make that change.
Thank you.
Mr. Santos, we just let in Mr. Pryor. If you want to just let him know what the motion was, so we can go ahead and finish the vote.
I'm going to repeat the motion. So I move that this committee approve and recommend to the boards the revised fiscal year 2022-2023, the preliminary administrative, and the retiree and other post-employment benefits budget. Is that clear enough?
Yes, Mr. Pryor, are you there? Mr. Pryor, can you hear me? He's in the meeting.
Sorry, unmute. Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Santos just read the motion. I just need a yes or a no to move the budget to the boards.
Yeah, I heard the motion. Go ahead. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the motion passes unanimously.
Just to make it very clear, let's do the roll call. We already got Mr. Pryor's vote, and just call the other members as
Okay.
well, just so it's clear.
Okay, Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Aye.
Ms. Greenwood,
Aye.
Mr. Sanchez.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously, and I already had Mr. Pryor's vote as a yes.
Great, thank you very much. I believe that concludes the meeting today. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Sorry for my absence, everybody.
So moved.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Pryor.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Thank you.